It's a new month, and that means it is time for another product roundup and giveaway. Ooh, which are you more excited about? Learning about new products that have come out that I like. I don't always have time to do a really in-depth review of all these new products, but I just want to show them to you, talk about them a little bit, and get you as excited as I am. Or you're more excited about the giveaway, where I pick one of these products and I give one away to a few people. Either way, you're in for a treat tonight. I'm Joshua Bardwell. You're going to learn something today. Let's dive in and talk about new products that have come out in the past month that I think are really freaking exciting and interesting. We'll talk more about the giveaway at the end of the video. What do you think was going to happen? It's YouTube. Of course, we're going to wait to the end of the video to talk about the giveaway. And we're going to start off this month with the iFlight Cyber series of motors. Now, it should be no secret to anybody out there that iFlight makes really darn good motors. But I'm kind of confused as to what they're trying to do with these Cyber Xing motors. Because, what's with this bell design? I mean, okay, it looks cool, but I don't think this is going to be more durable than their curved bell on their normal motors. I've always thought that the curved bell on the iFlight motors makes them more durable because anytime you have a sharp edge, that is an opportunity to focus force in an impact and deform the bell. But I do think I know what's going on here because this is the T-Motor Velox motor. And I think people just like shiny, different, cool things. And the Velox motor is probably selling. You saw it was back ordered there. And I think iFlight just went, okay, let's get on the train and let's make a weird, faceted, cool looking motor. Which is fair game. Because T-Motor did the exact same damn thing with their Pacer series of motors, which look just like the freaking iFlight curved bell design that iFlight is really well known for. So I guess fair is fair. But the real question is, what has this motor got that the standard iFlight Xing motors don't have? So let's look up iFlight Xing 2306. Right, there's the Cyber Xing, here's the Xing E, and here's the regular Xing Camo 2306. So the Xing Camo 2306, you can see that smooth transition between the top of the bell and the side, and the slightly rounded edge. To me, I think that's making it stronger and less likely to get damaged. So I feel like that's a plus right there. But if you look at the specs, shaft diameter 4 millis. So yeah, these motors they seem to be just basically the same iFlight Xing motors, which, don't get me wrong, are great motors, just with a bling bling bell. And I guess if that's what you're into, go for it. But I've always liked the original design better. I don't know. That's just how I am. Anyway, new motors from iFlight. Before we get too far into this, in case you hadn't already figured it out, there are links to all of these products down in the video description, and there are also timestamps. So if this video goes a little bit long and you're like, well, maybe I don't care about all these products, check the video description, look at the products down there, skip to the ones you're interested in, skip the whole thing, skip to the giveaway at the end, do whatever you like, but it's all down there in the video description. Next, let's go from motors to props, and I could not be more excited to learn that DAL Cyclone is getting an update. Now, DAL Cyclone has been around long enough that maybe some of you new people in the hobby don't know what a big freaking deal these props were. And let Grandpa Joshua tell you, pull up a chair. DAL Cyclones were some of the first really affordable, durable, good performing props out there. Got to give King Kong credit. King Kong did it first, but DAL Cyclone did it, and they just have been a standby for so long, but their design has not been updated in a while. The DAL 5045, for all I think it might still be on my website. That's how much I like those props. But prop design has come a long way, and it's really nice to see DAL updating their props with this new design. And this is the new 5145. So they're following in the trend of, I think HQ did it first, of going to slightly larger diameter props. That's the 5.1 inch diameter with slightly lower pitch to give you a little bit more thrust and linearity, a little bit more stability without necessarily the huge amp draw of higher pitch props. And 5145 is actually a little bit high pitch. That's not necessarily a bad thing. I would really like to try this prop out. I literally only just learned that this exists tonight. I would love to try it out. Not every DAL Cyclone prop is great. The DAL Cyclone 5043, for example, it just broke off at the hub really easily. But they've had so many good props at such a great price point for so long that I am really hopeful that this will turn out to be a really good prop. So I'm comparing it to like the Gemfan Hurricane 51433, which is maybe a comparable prop in many ways. And unfortunately, the days when DAL Cyclones were way cheaper than everything else on the market, either other props have gotten cheaper or they've gotten more expensive, because a Gemfan Hurricane for $329 versus the DAL Cyclone for $3, not that much. That's 10%. I guess that's not nothing, especially if you go through a lot of props. If you compare to like really premium props like HQ, I guess it's significantly cheaper. But Gemfan are pretty good props and not that much more. So there's a high bar to set. Next, let's look at this. This is the iFlight Morgoth frame, and this is a molded carbon fiber frame. Now, this is a really cool idea, but to tell you the truth, I have never been a super big fan of these molded carbon fiber frames. And the reason for that is that when you have a unibody frame, no matter how strong it is, eventually it will break. And sometimes they're not even that strong. Manufacturers always say they're super strong, but facts are facts. You crash it enough times, it breaks. And with these unibody frames, once they break, you basically replace the whole thing. But iFlight has done something pretty interesting here. They seem to be trying to give you the advantages of the molded carbon fiber frames, such as you can run the motor wires through the arms here, and you've got this nice molded shell, it's probably more aerodynamic. I don't know, it might be, and it looks cool, and it protects your insides of your quad. But by separating the shell into separate pieces, it means that if something does break, for example, you can replace just this upper canopy by itself without having to replace the whole thing. Now, the real question is going to be, how does the durability hold up? And only real-life crash testing will answer that question definitively. But it's a very interesting design for the kind of person who wants to give up a little bit of ease of maintenance and maybe give up even a little bit of durability to have a super cool-looking quadcopter. The iFlight Morgoth looks pretty interesting. It may be one of the best designed sort of molded carbon fiber frames that I've seen, trying to balance the ease of use with durability and maintainability. And at a price of about $60, you're not really paying much of it. In fact, it's kind of strange because like if we look at the Diatone Exorcist, this is a bind and fly, but just look at the frame. This thing, I've heard that Diatone has to make like 4 frames for every one they sell. I don't know the exact number, but they have a really low pass rate on this because this frame is so hard to make. And they just throw out a bunch of them because they just don't pass QC. And that's why the frame is like, it's like over $100, I think. It's oh my God, it's $150 for this frame. So like, there's just no freaking way. I mean, you just have to want this frame, and then you never fly it because you're scared to break it. So one way or another, iFlight's getting this frame out the door for $60. And no, it's not as cool as the Exorcist, but it's way freaking cheaper and seems like you can actually get spare parts in there if you end up breaking it. Pretty cool idea. iFlight, not the frame for me. I like a traditional carbon fiber plate, but maybe it's the frame for you. When I first saw this product, I was sure that I must be misunderstanding it because it claims to be a universal 900 megahertz, 1.3 gigahertz, 2.4 gigahertz, 5.8 gigahertz linear antenna. And that doesn't make any freaking sense because you have to tune the length of an antenna to the frequency that it's going to be used at. You can't make one antenna that is just universally good at all frequencies. But this comes from Video Aerial Systems and IB Crazy, the antenna designer. Alex Grieve is his real name, so I gave it a closer look. And Alex Grieve is a clever, clever guy. Because what he's done is he has scored the PCB and marked it. And what you do when you get this antenna is you cut it to the length that you want to use. So it comes ready for 900 megahertz. And so if you're going to use it for crossfire, that's what you would use it for. But if you want to use it with a 1.3 gigahertz video transmitter, like that Maytech video transmitter I showed you in last month's Roundup, you just cut it off here. If you want to use it for 2.4 gigahertz, you cut it here. Now, this is an SMA. Is it also available with a UFL? Surely it's available with a UFL, right? If it's not available with a UFL, then I don't know why not, because obviously you're going to want to put it on your quadcopter. Having it on your goggles or on your transmitter, what's the point of that? Surely it's available with a UFL. The next product I want to look at is this UltraPower UP6 400 watt 10 amp smart balance charger. Now, if you watch my channel for a while, you know that my current total favorite charger is the Hobbymate D6 Duo, or sometimes it's sold under the HOTA brand, HOTA. They're the same charger, they're just sold under different brands. But the UltraPower might knock it off the list, because the UltraPower does 400 watts at 10 amps. The HOTA does 325 watts at 15 amps. That's interesting. More watts, but fewer amps. And by the way, these specs that we're looking at now are when you run the charger off of a DC input, like a power supply. They have an AC input, but when you run them off of mains power, they don't have as high of an output rating, because they don't want to put a giant honking 400 watt, 800 watt power supply in these things. They'd be enormous. Now, here's what's interesting to me about these guys. They're very similar. I mean, the form factor is similar. They both have a touchless phone charger on top, but the UltraPower has two separate distinct channels with a more sophisticated screen. It's showing, for example, here you can barely see, it's showing the cell voltage all at the same time on the same screen, whereas on the Hobbymate or the HOTA, you have to scroll back and forth. And also, you have to pick which channel. You can only really see one channel at a time. You can see them both, but not all the information for both channels at the same time. And the UltraPower has two separate programming dials. And that, it's kind of a little annoying to have to switch channels on the HOTA. But I do see that the HOTA has come down. It used to be $150 for the D6 Pro, but now it's down to $120, whereas the UltraPower is $150. And 15 amp extra, yeah, no, they seem pretty similar. Since this is a quick look, I guess I'm not going to dig deep into their specs, but they seem pretty similar. So basically you're paying another 30 and 20 to 150, $30 for a more sophisticated screen and separate interface. I guess 400 watts, but only 10 amps, 325 watts, but 15 amps. I think these specs may actually be better depending on whether you're charging high voltage or 6S or 3S, you know, but both of them good, $150, very nice looking charger, UltraPower, good brand. Very excited to see this come onto the market. Well, as long as we're talking about battery chargers, let's talk about this. This is an 8-bay lithium-ion battery charger. Now, I use 18650 sized lithium-ion cells for all kinds of things. Mostly I use them in my FPV goggles. I have the Fat Shark battery case that takes the 18650 cells. I like the fact that they are simple and easy to charge, no balancing program. Just stick them in the spring. You can see it right behind me on the wall, right there. It's just stuck to the wall. Just drop it in like a AA and come back and it's charged and you're good. But I could only find 4-bay chargers at a reasonable price when I was shopping for them. And I kind of wanted more because I kind of just want to leave a bunch of batteries on the charger, have them be fully charged and ready to go. I'm super excited to see this 8-bay charger at a price of only about $40. I would totally have bought this instead of the 4-bay charger that I currently have if it was available. By the way, if you don't feel like you need an 8-bay charger, they have a 4-bay and a 2-bay. So yeah, you can get whatever size you need. Super excited to see this. The TS100 soldering iron is one of the easiest recommendations I've ever made for people getting into this hobby. It costs about $60 and it is it could be the only soldering iron that you use for every single thing you use a soldering iron for. The only downside of the TS100 is the ergonomics. It's meant to be portable, so it's very small and thin and spindly, and over long periods of time, sometimes it gets a little bit crampy on my hand, but it is just you would expect an iron of that price to be weak or fragile, and it is none of those things. It's an amazing iron. So what if you could get one for like $40? Well, this is the Sequere. I have no idea how to say this. This is the Sequere Mini SQ-100 65-watt portable soldering iron, and as near as I can tell, it is a TS100. It looks not even like a copy of a TS100. It just looks identical in every way to a TS100, right down to this little sticker that's on the side. It takes the TS100 tips. I don't know why. Somewhere out there, I would bet money it's the same factory. I just feel like I can tell a clone from a rebadge, and this feels like a rebadge. So it's $43 instead of $60, and if it has the same quality as a TS100, that is just a no-brainer. Just go buy one right now and stick it in your backpack, use it on your bench. That's very, very exciting. Let's shift gears and talk about backpacks. This is the new Ethix Think Tank backpack. And in case you don't know, Think Tank is a company that makes photo backpacks. They are very well known and respected in that realm, but they also make quadcopter backpacks, and I actually have reviewed one of them in the past on my channel. Yep, it's the Think Tank Airport Helipack. No, it's the Think Tank FPV Session. Now, I'm super excited anytime a new backpack comes onto the market. The backpack that I prefer, the Torvol Pitstop Pro, I justified purchasing it by saying, I'm a professional FPV. I need an expensive backpack, but it's outside the price range of a lot of people. And it's nice to see backpacks coming in at different price points. A lot of people can't get to the $300 price point, but they could get to the $150 price point. Some people can't get to the $150 price point, and it's nice to see packs out there at even lower price points. This one comes in at around $150, and I think it's pretty interesting to compare it to like just the FPV Session backpack, which I reviewed years ago at about the same price. And like Ethix makes good products, but I'm looking at it and I'm going, well, the FPV Session has these tiered Velcro dividers that lets you kind of have your transmitter and your goggles up top, and then the next tier for the next thing, or toolkits or whatever. Yeah, so you can see the FPV Session, you can get a lot of stuff in it, and it's sort of accessible. The Ethix pack doesn't seem to have those dividers. It just looks like it has an open space where the stuff goes in. And I'm not sure whether that's better or worse. Like, are you going to need a separate goggle case and transmitter case? How are you going to put your transmitter in there? I guess we should watch Steele's interview or review of it. I mean, Steele uses this as his daily driver, so it's got to be good, right? I'll link this video down in the video description, and you can check out exactly in depth how it stacks up. I just want to see how he puts all his stuff on the inside. Yeah, he's got separate, there you go. So he's got separate cases for his stuff, and that makes sense. That makes sense. If you're the kind of guy who's going to put your goggles, your transmitter, whatever, in a separate case, then having kind of a wide open bag like this makes sense. But for me, at least, I think the point of a bag like this is that the bag itself is the case, and your stuff goes into the bag as unprotected and accessible as possible, and the bag protects the stuff. And that was one of the reasons I actually steered away from this one, because I thought it didn't quite have enough room and didn't quite do a good enough job at protecting the stuff. So if you're in the market for a backpack, check out the Ethix Think Tank backpack and see if you are the kind of guy who sort of stores your stuff kind of like Steele does in his video, or if you're the kind of guy who maybe steers more towards a photography style backpack with all the dividers and stuff like me. Okay. Who in the hell is Zeez Design? I have no idea, but they made a flight controller in an ESC. And the flight controller is actually kind of interesting. If we look on the underside of this flight controller, we can see that there are direct solder pads for, I assume this is for a Crossfire Nano receiver. The pinout seems right. And over here we've got a direct solder pads for, I assume it's like the TBS Unify Micro. So basically, it's designed for you to direct solder on your Crossfire receiver and your Unify video transmitter, and then this is just your whole electronics right here. Now, this is not the very first flight controller to do this. There are a few other flight controllers out there that have done this, but this one just kind of came out of the blue. It says designed in Italy. I've never heard of this company, and so, hey, new product roundup. That's the whole point, right? Now, I wanted to take a closer look at this flight controller because there are so many thoughtful things that the designer has done. For example, here's a solder bridge to switch this pin headers, one of these pin headers, between Cam C and UART6 TX. And that gives you the flexibility to use analog camera control if that's what you want to use, or to have a spare UART if you need an extra UART for some peripheral. Here we've got a solder bridge to change the voltage for the receiver between 3.3 volts and 5 volts. And here we've got a solder bridge to control whether your video transmitter gets VBAT or 5 volts. So it kind of just looks like they've designed it to kind of do it all. These plugs on the corners here are for LED strips. So you don't have to run crazy wiring all over your quadcopter to get the LED strips to work. You can just plug them in here. That's pretty slick. And it even looks like it's got a USB-C connector instead of a standard micro USB. Oh no, this is interesting. It says Hobby Porter Zeez. Is it made by Hobby Porter? That would actually be a mark in its favor. Hobby Porter makes some good stuff. Interesting. They make their own LED strips so you can just plug them in. That's pretty slick. That's pretty slick. Well, now we come to a product that doesn't have the same excitement and sex appeal of like new flight controllers, new motors, but it is one that literally touches you more than any other, your goggle foam. This is the Newbeedrone Max Comfort goggle foam. And in case you've never heard me talk about it, I love this goggle foam. It's made of neoprene. And that means it is kind of spongy and forgiving, but at the same time, it is durable. It's not squishy. It doesn't soak up sweat like some of the fabric ones do. It's a little bit thicker. So if your eyelashes are brushing the HDO2s like bot grinders did, then using this Newbeedrone Max Comfort goggle foam may give you just that little bit more spacing. I have corrective lenses in my goggles, and when I don't use the Max Comfort goggle foam and I put the goggles up on my forehead, they dig into my forehead. The nose piece does too. The Max Comfort goggle foam is just thick enough that it solves that problem. And of course, it solves any light leak problems as well. So I'm a huge fan of the Max Comfort goggle foam, and they have finally released Max Comfort goggle foam for the Fat Shark HDO2s. I've been just using the HDO foam, but it doesn't have quite the same shape. If you've got HDOs, HDO2s, Sky Zone goggles, they cut it for you. I cannot recommend it more highly. Not everybody I know who's tried it has loved it, but almost everybody I know who's tried it absolutely loves it. Oh, and it lasts way longer than that Fat Shark foam. You know how the Fat Shark foam just kind of falls apart on you one day? It just tears off, and then you're just screwed until you can order new foam and you got Velcro rubbing up against your forehead. This stuff lasts way longer, and as it breaks down, you can kind of see, it doesn't just fall apart. It is so good. Best $10 you ever spent on your goggles. Absolutely recommend it. And now it's available for the HDO2s. Well, let's keep talking about goggle foam then. One of the biggest complaints about the DJI goggles is that they're ruining the hobby by locking out analog, and they're too expensive, and they're probably selling your information to the Chinese government. But what about the fit? What about the fit? A lot of people feel that the DJI goggles aren't as comfortable as they could be. There's a little bit of light leak. I happen to agree, but I make the best of it. There is now thicker foam available for the DJI goggles, and it really solves the light leak problem. I don't own this yet, but I have used someone else's goggles that had it on there, and I was super impressed. The only thing about this that they could have done better is that when you install this, there isn't foam on the nose, and you can get a little bit of light leak in the nose. So what people are doing is they're cutting the nose foam off of the original factory foam, and then they're replacing the whole rest of it with this stuff. I'm going to be getting some of this as soon as I can. I think it's a much better fit. This is the iFlight Titan DC2. It is a DJI bind and fly 2-inch quadcopter, and I put it on my FPV Know-It-All Ultimate FPV shopping list website. I have a page for DJI stuff. I put it on there, and I called it the best first DJI quad. I think if you are trying to get a DJI quadcopter and you're looking for this is available as a pure bind and fly or ready to fly kit that comes with the goggles and the controller ready to go, or you can just buy the quad and bind it to your existing controller, your DJI controller and goggles. And At a price of $350, I think this is a very, very compelling package. It's got a full-sized air unit. You can order it with other receivers, a FreeSky receiver if you prefer, if you've got a FreeSky transmitter. It's got prop guards. It's not too powerful to use indoors, but it's powerful enough to get some use outdoors. I think this is just a really, really spectacular choice if you're looking for a bind and fly as your first DJI quadcopter. However, there's a whole lot of other stuff. See, like the DC3 is very good, but the open props, maybe not so good for a beginner. 5-inch, not unless you have some experience, I think. I guess I gotta acknowledge the other one that might be worth a look is the GEP-RC Rocket. This is the Rocket Lite, which has the Caddx Vista, but it's also available in Rocket Plus, which has the full air unit. Oh, that's a tough one. I've got a review of the Rocket as well on my channel. I'll link that in the video description also. I haven't reviewed the Titan DC2 yet, but I have flown it. And they're both good. What can I say? Well, we're going to finish up the roundup looking at a couple of bind and fly quadcopters, and that's going to lead us into the giveaway. Wait for it. This is the Lumenier Chief 5-inch racing quadcopter, and I'm showing it to you because Alex Campbell, that's Chief, is his racing name. He actually is based out of Tennessee. He's my hometown. We rode to the Washington D.C. protest in the same caravan, and I got to talk to him for a while about his racing philosophy. I'm actually trying to get him to come do an interview with me and talk about the design process of going into developing this frame, and these are his signature motors. But what I'm showing you as the new product this month is this bind and fly racing quadcopter, which he has released with Lumenier, Get FPV, and basically it's his race rig. So if you want to fly his exact race rig and you don't want to build it yourself, just plunk down $450, link in the video description, and you can pick it up. Just pick your... Is that it? That's my only option? Guess you got to go Crossfire. Well, okay. There you go. Crossfire it is. And lastly, in this month's roundup, I want to take a look at the iFlight Cidora SL5E. And if you look at the specs for the Cidora SL5E, you're going to see that they're very similar to the iFlight Nazgul, and the price of the SL5E is about $200, the same as the Nazgul. Why did iFlight release the Cidora SL5E and basically put its own Nazgul out of business? I think that the Nazgul was a Banggood exclusive, and the Cidora was sold all over the place. And so I guess they just wanted a ready-to-fly at the $200 price point that wasn't a Banggood exclusive. I don't know. But the Cidora SL5E is available at more places than the Nazgul was. It comes in about $200. iFlight makes a good product. And I think if you're looking for a bind and fly quadcopter, your first 5-inch maybe, you get a hell of a lot of value for $200 out of the Cidora SL5E. And that brings us to the giveaway. It's time to do the giveaway. And I always try and give away a product that is valuable enough that you're going to really be excited to get it, but not so expensive that I can only give away one. But I feel like the product I would most like to give away this month is that iFlight Cidora SL5E. It's $200. How many can I afford to give away? Let's say we're going to give away 3 of them. Because 2 is just 3 is whoa. 4 is it's kind of expensive. So we'll give away 3 of the Cidora SL5E. You'll get your pick of 6S or 4S motor KV. That's up to you. And the way that you enter is down in the video description. There's a link to a Google form where you will be asked to put in your email address. I am not collecting your email addresses. I will not add you to a mailing list. I just use your email address so that I can tell you when you've won, so I know how to get in touch with you. And also because if you do that, then it prevents people from just entering the giveaway 500 times. So, okay. So you got to trust me with your email address, but as soon as the giveaway is over, I just delete the spreadsheet. I don't keep them. I'm not going to do anything shady. Don't worry. There's full terms and conditions and so forth down in the video description, including the date when I will, the cutoff for entries. I will post the winner here on the channel, and I'll also just email you. So, if in about a week you haven't gotten an email, chances are you didn't win. But there you go. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, links to all this stuff down in the video description. They are affiliate links. if you make any purchase at one of those affiliated vendors, after clicking one of those links, I get a small commission, and it really means a lot, especially in these uncertain times. It's an easy thing you can do to support me, is just to click those links before you make any purchase, and I get a small commission. It costs you nothing. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm looking forward to making more content for you on this channel. Happy flying, everybody.